All right, welcome back for another pep talk for principals out here that are leading in schools, doing the work every single day, and we're getting our week started. So, in order to get ready for the week, I like to just do a pep talk, man, and give you something that's going to keep you grounded, that's going to keep you going, and not allow your environment to just dictate exactly how you feel, how you're going to do the work, impact your relationships with your family, your staff, your colleagues, your students, your families, your communities. It's been another week and it's time for a pep talk. Now, can I be really honest? I don't really know what I'm going to call this show. It's like a leadership talk show. It's like a pep talk. But I'm really leaning towards like the Leaders Lead talk show, the Leaders Lead podcast. Because leaders lead from the front. And so this episode, what we're going to do, man, we're going to talk about one of the things that you do when you do what you do, when you're leading a school. It's really important to build and maintain a certain level of trust. We could talk about trust all day, but at the end of the day, trust is something that you have to consistently work on because you're making decisions all across the board. You're making decisions when it comes to the yearbook. You're making decisions when it comes to special education implementation. You're making the decisions when it comes to curriculum implementation. You're making decisions on WIDA testing. You're making the decisions on SAT. You're making decisions on what time is the assembly going to be and what scholars are being pulled out of their classrooms. What time? How long? You're making so many decisions. And oftentimes you're going to make a decision that's not going to align with somebody else. And oftentimes your decision may cause you to be distrusted or mistrusted in some way, shape, or form. So this is going to be quick. It's not going to take an entire day to digest this information because, again, this is just a pep talk. Because you made a decision last week that was not popular. You have to find ways to build trust. So, situation, we had a fight at our school. Some girls got into a fight. And we got intel that the fight was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen, right? Because at the end of the day, they don't really want to fight. So we knew they were going to fight. A fight was going to happen because the arguments happened. So if you rewind about a week and a half ago, the situation came out that she was upset with this other girl and she wanted to fight her. But she wasn't going to fight. She just wanted to intimidate her, really. So I get all this information. I'm telling the girl, you don't need to fight. There's no reason to fight. The bell rings. Hall passing happens. I go out into the hall. The girl that I'm talking to stands there at her next class waiting. Well, I didn't realize that this is the hour that the two girls who don't like each other, or maybe it's just one way at this point, but they have classes right across the hall from each other. So bell rings. I go out in the hallway. I hit a right. And I go towards the end of the hallway. And I start engaging with scholars as they're changing class. All of a sudden, I see the girl in question that the other young lady, girl A, was mad at. Over some boyfriend stuff. I don't even know what they were mad about at each other about. But I see the girl in question. So I go immediately to her. And I start walking with her. I start talking with her. As if nothing's wrong. Just paying attention. And when I turn around to walk her towards her class, I see girl A staring her down. And I felt it. So I know girl B felt it. And as she's looking at her, and she gets close and she says, "Is there a problem?" And girl B just starts taking off her stuff. I pull her away. I tell her not to fight. We separate the girls. They just argue. We calm things down. They go home for the rest of the day because they're all riled up. The next day, The next day they come in and it's lunch and they have the same lunch and they're both in the same area. They're hanging out but they have their teams now. And girl A just wants to stare at girl B. But my team knows, so we're just blocking the view. They can't see each other because we're standing in the way. Girl A gets riled up. She's talking to us. She doesn't want us to be in her way. She wants to look at the girl. We don't allow her to do that. She's not listening. I tell her to go to my office. She goes to my office and goes home because she was creating a hostile environment. So mother came and picked her up. Fast forward. Weekend passes. We come back to school. And both girls are chill. We heard social media, Snapchat. Yes, all those things happen. All the smoke is in the air, but they're chill and calm at school. And one thing happens, class passes. We go first hour, second hour, third hour, lunch, fourth hour, fifth hour, right around fifth hour, I believe. Fight breaks out. They fight. It goes for a couple rounds. We separate them. We get them out the building. They get suspended. How did they fight when we did so well with keeping them apart from each other? It was a breakdown in the system. When the bell rang, they fought the last maybe 48 to 50 seconds of that last minute prior to the bell ringing for the beginning of fifth hour. Now, what happened? I didn't make my post to be in the hallway as the principal. You see, my assistant principal is out. He's out on surgery. And so we have a plan to where people are placed strategically in the hallways as passing time happens. I didn't make it to the floor. Usually, I'm back up. I have people on the floor, security officers or public safety officers, youth advocates. There are adults there. Teachers are in the hallway. But remember, it's the last minute to the bell. And neither my security officer is not there, nor my youth advocate, who's normally on the floors like clockwork. Today was the day that I decided I was going to have lunch because, as you know, as building principals, we don't always get to eat lunch. So I decided to eat. As I'm warming up my food, I lose track of time. Bell rings. I sit my lunch down. I go to my spot. By the time I get there, I hear there's a fight on the radio. I was not at my spot. My security officer had left to go check out vaping on a different floor. And my youth advocate was not there. And that short window, the fight broke out. Now, I'm not saying we would have prevented the fight if we were standing there, but I guarantee you there would have been a reluctancy to fight if people were in place. It had been happening in the last week and a half. They didn't fight because we were there. The minute we weren't there, the fight broke out. So here's my point. I haven't had many fights this school year in my school. But instead of blaming the security officer for not being there or leaving his post, and my youth advocate for not being on his post, the first thing I did was say, man, I didn't make it. Normally I'm not there. But I put the blame on me. The next piece was to analyze the system breakdown. Well, what happened and what didn't happen? Yes, the overall outcome was the fact that there was no one there at their post, me included. I'm not pointing fingers at my security officer who should have been there and wasn't, who left to go check something out, a vaping issue, okay? Vaping is a thing, but it's not a high priority at this time when these girls have been riled up for the last couple of days. It's not a priority. I have no idea where the other team members were and why they weren't in their spots, but they weren't there. But instead of pointing that out, we point out the system. We point at the system and say there was a breakdown in the system and we weren't there. You don't have to go personal and make it a point to either blame the individual or individuals, you don't have to blame them. You focus on the system breakdown. Address the system breakdown as I did, and figure out how can we make this the adjustment for the next time. Not the next time, not the fight, but how do we stay consistent in our system? When that bell rings, we are in place 2 to 3 minutes before the bell rings. And none of us were, because we were preoccupied with whatever we were. Focus on the system and not the people. Come on, principal. Yeah, you had a fight in your classroom. You had a situation where it was undesirable. You had some girls engage into an altercation. You had people in place, but they weren't there. But there's no need for you to point your blame at the individuals. Point your energy, point your focus, point your analysis on the system breakdown. Make the adjustment and move forward. Don't hold it all on yourself. And don't take false responsibility either. Yes, I was the one. I'm ultimately responsible for everything. That's where the conversation starts. And that's what leaders do. If you want to be an administrator and you want to be a manager, you can point at the people. But if you want to be a leader, focus on the system, uplift the people, coach them, make the adjustments and move forward. Come on, principal. We can't do this by ourselves. I know it's happened to you because it happened to me. And it's going to happen, especially when spring break comes. All right. Hey, this is just a pep talk, man, because leaders lead. And I need you to be on your game. Focus on the system and not the people. Let's make a really great week. And if something does happen, monitor that system and not the people you're trying to build trust with. Dr. McGee saying, let's have a great and phenomenal week. It's Black History Month, and it's definitely time for us to serve, support, and take care of the people in our buildings, in our schools, our families, and our communities. All right, I love you, and let's make it a great week.